Imagine a world where June 18, 1815, ends differently, where the mud dries a little faster, the French cavalry charge a little sooner, and Marshal Grouchy arrives just in time. In this alternate timeline, the Battle of Waterloo is not a crushing defeat, but Napoleon's greatest comeback. This is the story of the world that rises when Waterloo is won. The cannons thunder across the Belgian countryside. Smoke hides the sky. But unlike our history, Napoleon is calm and confident. His scouts bring critical news. The Prussian army under Blücher is delayed, stuck behind collapsed bridges and muddy roads. Napoleon acts fast. He orders Ney to hold the center, and Murat to prepare a devastating cavalry charge. With perfect timing, the Imperial Guard advances, not at the end in desperation but early when the British lines are stretched thin. The British army falters. Wellington's troops begin to break. A final French charge shatters the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean. And in our new timeline, the Duke of Wellington is forced to retreat, dragging the remnants of his exhausted army with him. Napoleon has won. The news spreads like wildfire across Europe. Paris erupts in fireworks. Cities that once feared the emperor now celebrate the impossible victory. Britain is stunned. Russia is furious. Austria begins secret meetings, unsure whether to fight or negotiate. Prussia, humiliated, withdraws its armies to the east. Napoleon wastes no time. He re-establishes the French Empire's dominance. His enemies, exhausted from years of war, finally accept the truth. The emperor is backed in 1816. Instead of Napoleon being exiled, the European powers gather in Paris to negotiate peace. Europe is redrawn again. France retains Belgium. A puppet kingdom is created in northern Italy. The Confederation of the Rhine is restored under French influence. Spain, weakened and unstable, reluctantly agrees to a French alliance. Napoleon promises stability and economic modernization instead of further conquest. The other monarchs, fearful but tired of war, sign the Treaty of Paris. It becomes known as the Peace of the Eagle. With war behind him, Napoleon focuses on rebuilding Europe. He restructures the French economy, expands the banking system, and pushes rapid industrialization. The famous Napoleonic Code spreads across the continent, standardizing laws, property rights, and civil justice. Education reforms transform France into the most literate nation in Europe. Railroads begin to connect Paris, Milan, and Munich. French science and engineering surge forward, rivaling Britain's industrial strength. By the 1830s, the French Empire becomes the first continental superpower. Across the Channel, Britain realizes it cannot isolate France anymore. Instead, the two great powers become rivals in industry, commerce, and colonial expansion rather than on the battlefield. In India, Britain fortifies its rule. In Africa, France expands aggressively, establishing vast territories decades earlier than in real history. The world becomes a two-superpower system. The British Empire versus the Napoleonic Empire. Across the Atlantic, the United States watches Europe carefully. Louisiana remains under French influence longer, leading to more French immigration to North America. Texas, instead of becoming American, becomes a battleground between French and Spanish interests. The Mexican territories develop differently, shaped by Napoleonic legal systems and military alliances. The Americas become a chessboard where the great empires compete, not for war but for influence. Napoleon dies peacefully in Paris in 1837, not on a lonely island but surrounded by admirers. His son, Napoleon II, takes the throne with strong political institutions supporting him. France enters a constitutional imperial phase, similar to later Britain. A powerful emperor with an elected parliament. The French Empire becomes a technological powerhouse. Railroads, telegraphs, and early automobiles spread across Europe under French direction. Without the humiliations and resentments of real 19th-century Europe, the rise of ultranationalism and militarism is slowed. The German Empire never unifies under Prussia. The Austro-Hungarian Empire survives longer. World War I, as we know it, never happens to be why 1900. The Napoleonic world is surprisingly stable. France dominates Western Europe. Britain rules the seas and global trade. Russia, without major European wars, focuses on developing Siberia. The Ottoman Empire survives due to French support. Technological progress is shared rather than stolen through war. Paris becomes the center of global science and innovation. The Eiffel Tower is built not for a world fair, but as a symbol of French technological supremacy. In this world, airplanes, automobiles, and early radio are developed collaboratively. Colonial borders change, but without brutal world wars, Europe sees fewer mass destructions. Humanity enters the 20th century with rivalry, but not catastrophe. One battle changed everything. One decision rewrote the fate of continents. One victory at Waterloo created a Europe where French law, French science, and French ambition spread across half the globe. Napoleon becomes remembered not as the defeated emperor, but as the man who reshaped the world. And all it took was a single afternoon in Belgium going differently.